Hello, everybody, and welcome to the most mediocre biography of an Australian legend. Yes, today I will be talking about George Miller, a renowned multi-genre Australian director, writer, and producer. He was born in 1995 on the 3rd of March. So, where was he born? He was born in Chinchilla, in Queensland, to a Greek refugee family, and he studied at Ipswich Grammar and Sydney Boys High School. After high school, Miller studied medicine at New South Wales University. It was here that Miller dabbled in film for the first time. This was a 1-minute short titled St. Vincent's Review film, co-directed by his brother Chris. They ended up winning the top student prize. In the same year, 1971, George Miller attended a film workshop at Melbourne University where he met Byron Kennedy, who would turn out to be a longtime friend and business partner. Later that year, they created the Kennedy-Miller Productions. So, moved to 1972. They created their first professional short film together, having a runtime of 20 minutes. This was titled Violence in Cinema, Part 1. It was written and directed by George Miller. Now, there is no copy of this short film available anymore. However, it was described as a graphic satire on the representation of violence in film, and it polarized critics and audiences alike due to its simplifying of grotesque actions on screen. After this, it was placed in the documentary category at the Sydney Film Festival in 1972. Now, after this, we fast forward 1979, the release of Mad Max, and it was born. This was George's directional debut in feature film. This iconic action movie, was independently financed through Kennedy Miller Productions after they raised $300,000 from private investors. This movie would turn into an astronomical international success, garnering over $100 million in box office over its first 3 years. And this would result in the creation of the Mad Max series, in which critics have acclaimed as the best action series of all time. Now, after the release of Mad Max 2 in 1981, another glaring success, Miller would proceed to direct Nightmare at 20,000 Feet, which was a segment for the horror anthology Twilight Zone the movie in 1983. After this, he would proceed to co-produce and co-direct The Dismissal in 1983, a drama miniseries on TV, as well as The Coward Breakout, an action drama miniseries releasing in 1984. Now, in 1985, we turn to the third movie of the Mad Max installment, Beyond the Thunderdome. This was another glaring financial success, tripling its budget in box office. Now we move onwards now. 1987, beyond 1985. He directed The Witches of Eastwick, which starred Jack Nicholson, Susan Sarandon, Cher, and Michelle Pfeiffer. This was a dark fantasy, a black comedy. Again, he's now dipping his fingers into a different genre. However, production on this was troublesome for many different reasons, causing George Miller to quit production twice. But stated in an interview, George Miller says that Jack Nicholson is the one who kept him there, telling him to always ask the production team for more than he needed, because he knew that they would never give him that. This movie ended up becoming quite the success. With a budget of $22 million, it made a domestic box office of $63.8 million. While also being nominated for 10 different awards at different ceremonies, it also won 4 awards for Best Actor and Best Special Visual Effects. Now, after the success of this film, George Miller turned to producing Australian titles, starting with Vietnam in 1987 and The Bangkok Hilton in 1989, which were both TV miniseries starring Nicole Kidman and are renowned as titles that started her successful career. After this, he produced Dead Calm in 1989, a psychological horror film, as well as the coming-of-age comedy Flirting in 1991. These were all quite successful. However, this success would not last for long. Come 1992, Miller's returned to directing features, and we are introduced to Lorenzo's Oil, a biographical medical drama. This film was a box office flop with a budget of $30 million and only grossing $7.2. However, strangely enough, it went well with critics and it got nominated for 5 awards. So now we have entered the 90s period of Miller's career. Now you're going to see Contact there, and you're going to think, hold up, Wait a minute, something ain't right. Miller didn't have anything to do with that. Well, that's where you're wrong, actually. George was approached by Warner Brothers in 1993 to write and direct Contact. However, after taking too long to finish the script, Warner Brothers and Miller, in quotation marks, agreed to part ways. Warner Bros. Went on to make what Miller says, a safer version of the film. But he then went on to co-write Babe in 1995, which was a smash hit and won a couple of awards for the screenplay. He went on to write and direct Babe, Pig in the City, which was not so successful in 1998. It only grossed $69.5 million to a budget of $90 million. After this, we move to the mid-2000s. Now, George Miller produced, directed, and co-wrote Happy Feet, an absolutely smash hit with audiences and critics alike, winning him his first Best Animated Feature award, as well as having a budget of $100 million and a box office gross of $384. After this, in 2007, Miller formed Dr. D Studios with Omnilab Media. But after the failure of Happy Feet 2 in 2011, the studio was disbanded in 2013. This is also due to the production costs of the upcoming Fury Road rising. Now, we fast forward into the future, 2015, and we get the legendary Mad Max Fury Road. Now, this movie garnered 10 Academy Award nominations and it won 6 of those awards, the most of any film in that year. And within the first 2 years, Fury Road also collected 247 awards and 234 nominations at different film festivals and award ceremonies. And with a budget of $185 million and a box office of $385 million, it's safe to say that this was a smash hit and a bit of a redemption moment for George Miller. Now, after this, George Miller announced the next sequel in the franchise will be called Mad Max: The Wasteland. However, in 2020, it was confirmed that the next installment in the franchise will be called Mad Max Furiosa, a prequel to Fury Road, and that is well into production. However, to end on a bummer, an absolute hooner, a stinker, it's George Miller's most recent movie that came out this year, 3,000 Years of Logging. Now, this is critically considered as a box office bomb, with mediocre reviews and having a budget of $60 million and only turning 2.9 in box office on its 3-day opening weekend. Now, we can only hope in the future that Furiosa will live up to the Mad Max series of quality movies and action. However, after everything, I think you should be able to see why George Miller is such a renowned Australian director. His wide range of genres has put himself his wide range of genres he has put himself in shows why he is one of those leading creators in the Australian film industry and why he deserves all of our respect. Because even through the ups and the downs, this man just does not stop. I just really, really hope he doesn't die before Furiosa. I would like to thank you all for watching and have a beautiful day.